down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Are you down with OTC? OTC. Are you down with OTC? Down with OTC. Down with OTC.
Oh, are you down with OTC?
I'm totally down with OTC, Jeff. I'm down with it.
Yeah.
Down with OTC. How are you doing, man?
Down with the OTC. Good, good, good. Oh man, my thing's all messed up. Hang on a second.
Oh, it is here. Pop out of there for a second. I'm gonna talk about what's on tap for tonight. We've got a lot going on tonight, but there's a lot of great stories coming out. And again, the adoption of the blockchain. All these projects, there's so much stuff going on tonight. We got to get into about as many as we can. And there's a little bit of Ripple news too. Ripple news, we're not going to talk about necessarily, well, I mean, we might get into it, but we're probably not going to get into the whole idea of the, what's going on with the lawsuit. Although it's possible, Jeff. But anyway, all that's coming up, all that and more, as they say, coming up
right
now.
Now, let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain with Jeff and Chip.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back.
I love people are dropping where they're from. Hello from the Berg. I went to school in the Berg. I spent some time in the Berg. How yin's doing? I love the vernacular in the Berg. Some of the friendliest people in the United States live in and around Pittsburgh.
I've been there before. Been to Pittsburgh.
It's
a nice place. I like that. Man, it's kind of funny. Right before we started, I was looking at my watch and I said, you know what? We've got like 7-8 minutes to go time. And yesterday I was setting my watch and I said, hey, and I looked at my phone. I said, double check. I said, yep, watch is right on time. But guess what? It's not. My watch is not working.
What?
Yeah, it stopped right there at 7:50. At 7:53.
How about that, Jeff?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it's I want to just say, hey, from Bali, we've got Bali in the house. What's going on? Keith Morrison from Bali. Hiya from Bali. Hello, kids. Wade's
Bali.
here. Jay Sober's here.
Nice.
Mel G here. We got the Bronx. Oh, coming in strong from one of the boroughs
We got
there.
John Doe all the way in from AZ.
Shurdan says Pittsburgh is the second biggest Croatian city after Zagreb, Croatia. Wow, man.
Interesting. I did not know that. That is really good to know.
He's got great trivia. He always knows stuff. Look, you have Kabul, Afghanistan, El Chapo.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
So you brought up a ton of stuff that we got to talk about.
2 a.m. in Norway. Well, you know what?
Holy cow. 2 a.m.
Well, 2 a.m. You guys are you're monsters. You're something else. I want to dive into this because our favorite attorney, his name is John Deaton, and John put this tweet out here. He said, let's just drill in on this thing. He said, I promise to keep everyone updated on the writ of mandamus. So here is the first response, and we'll plug it in here. This came from the Securities and Exchange Commission from the Honorable William Smith. It was written to Judge Smith from Christina Cotter, and that's the senior trial counsel of the U.S. From the SEC. And John also put another fun tweet out inviting Christina. We'll go into that as well, but it just says we're in receipt of petitioner John Deaton's February 12th, 2021 letter inquiring about the status of the case under federal rules of civil procedure, its agencies, officers, blah, 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 60 days after service of the U.S. Attorney's Office, which to submit a responsive pleading. See all these rules. Because petitioner served the U.S. Attorney's Office on January 7, 2021, respondents of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, Elad Reutzman, who's the acting, I believe he's the acting. Did they change that?
No, I don't know. I think he's still acting.
He's still acting. Yeah,
a lot of them are acting.
Oh, Jeff, that was so well said. That might have been the best. Good night, everybody. That was the best thing. That was the best thing all night. They are acting, and we're going to jump into that too. So basically, just saying they're in response of the letter, and these are the deadlines, and blah blah blah. We'll let you know for any additional information, blah blah blah, and that's it. But this is one of the reasons that I love John Deaton is because he's really one of the. He's not really. Well, his specialty is in blockchain, but his interests lie in blockchain. He's a purveyor of a lot of. He's not a maxi. He loves Bitcoin. He loves XRP. But he filed the writ of mandamus. He filed this basically on behalf of the XRP community, Jeff. And it's like, you can talk about stuff. You can say of theories and this and that interpretation. But he spent his holiday, the last week of his holiday, furiously writing up and typing up his own counter and filed it at 2 a.m. on I think it was January 1st, 2021.
That's right.
It's just amazing that he went ahead and did that. And wow, I just think he's a superhero. I call him the superhero attorney because he really is. He's somebody that's looking out always for our best interest. And I'm looking for a story here, Jeff, that you brought up because I wanted to dive into this a little bit. But here we go. So there was a Commissioner Hester Pierce, Hester M. I don't know what the M stands for. Hester Pierce. She spoke at George Washington Law, regulating the digital comedy conference, and she spoke. And by the way, I read this whole thing, and I gotta be honest, Jeff. I'm really starting to doubt the whole commissioner thing here. The whole idea of Hester Pierce. She speaks at this thing and she's saying, now here's what's funny. She put the little blast offs here, the little rockets, atomic trading. And again, this is the speech right here. This is on the SEC website. You can see it right up here. It says SEC, speech, Pierce, atomic trading. And she put some rocket ships up there. What kind of subliminal messages are those? Don't really know, but here's what we know. I probably would prefer to, sometimes I like to read stuff, but I think in this case, I probably would have preferred to actually, Jeff, to watch it versus read it. It's kind of all over the place a little bit, but I was just shocked at this one statement here, which let me see if I can pull this up. Basically, I tweeted this out because I was I'm shocked at this point, Jeff, because you said there's a lot of acting going on. And I have to agree with you. It's like all we've been hearing is crypto mom this and crypto mom that. And she gets out there and talks about, yeah, we haven't done a great job of, we really haven't done a great job of regulation or providing clarity, but some ideas.
Exactly. So, I mean, at the end of the day, one of the things I think that we need to really focus in on is that someone that's appointed within the governmental body is really, doesn't answer to anybody but whoever appointed them. And your elected officials, whether they're in the state house, if they're state senate, or they're in the U.S. House or U.S. Senate, they are beholden to their constituents because you're the ones who put them in office. So obviously we see a lot of double speak, from many of the politicians, many of those involved in politics in general. But in this scenario, I believe that, we've given way too much credence to this individual. She's been, a proponent of blockchain, but to call her, crypto mom, she's, now attributed this moniker. She's now a commissioner of the SEC and nothing. I mean, to the point where, you would expect her to be more outspoken at this point to say, look, here's what we want to do. We want to provide regulatory clarity. Here's how the SEC is going to do it. I don't know if she's being held back and she can't, speak out, which could be very likely, or she just isn't beholden to that message. She's beholden to the agenda of the administration and others. So the timeline that, that they're on, the timeline that the investors are on, don't jive with one another. And in this scenario, she might talk a big talk in private, but when it comes down to practicality, and we've seen this time and time again in politics, where when it comes down to practicality, they don't follow through with what they say, out in public, and their actions are completely different. And my opinion, I think we're going to see another one of those, that the actions are just going to fall.
Well, Morton Hell has it right here. He says Hester Pierce is a fun woman trapped in a government position, and that may be it.
So put that up. That sentence just summarized the last 5 minutes of speech that I had. Had I come up with that, it would have been perfect.
Right. It was like that's why we have the family in here talking about that. Here, Maynard puts this up. What is a writ of mandamus? So what that is, I'll show you the official language here, but it's an order from the court to an inferior government official, ordering the government official to properly fulfill their official duties or correct an abuse of discretion. So he filed this. Basically, this writ has to do with the to kind of cure what the SEC dropped against Ripple. So there's two basic things he was looking for. If there is a fine levied against if the SEC levies a fine against the Ripple, he wants, instead of that going into a deep, dark hole, Jeff, like we were talking about, like it could be millions of dollars, it could be tens of millions, who knows what it is, right? And nobody knows what happens to that money. So what he's saying, let's set up a foundation, have that foundation set up in such a fashion that because the market got destroyed, he wants XRP bag holders to get a piece of that. That was one of the things that he called for, which I think was.
Hey, just 1 second. 1 second.
Please.
Come on, man, Berserker.
I love when Berserker pulls in. It's good to see Berserker in here, man.
Berserker has his own clip.
Yeah, you know what?
When you come in with a name like Berserker, right?
Yeah, when you have Berserker. I want to pull up this writ real quick because I wanted to. Hang on a second. Where is this thing? Holy cow! Might not have been the best way to do it here. Holy cow! Okay. I was trying to look for the. I'm going to pull this up because I want to pull. I forgot what the other. There was two potential cures here that he was looking for. But anyway, if you guys get a chance to read this, I'll tell you what. I'll drop it in the. Here, I'll drop it in there. I'll drop the tweet. This is the. Read this right here. Guys, read that. That's the writ of mandamus. This is the cure. So this is what he spent all of his holiday doing. Basically, it's very well written. You compare this. He makes some amazing points in that. Usually I would pull this up in a reader format, but I'm trying to. Man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, Jeff. Anyway, there were two things in here that were really outstanding. Man, it's been a while since I looked at this puppy. Anyway, bottom line is that this is on behalf of the XRP community, right? So it's actually looking out for your best interest because nobody else is, and certainly the SEC is not looking out for, right?
That's right.
So if you guys don't know Silhouette Park Farm, that's a fantastic channel. And it's funny because they'll do late night streams, and I'll be in there and I'll be watching it. But they have a farm, and like I watched, I guess they're moving sheep the other day, and also Adam, is it Adam? Well, I'm gonna probably get the name wrong, but he was doing a concert, man. He's a great singer too. I'm probably getting the name wrong, but I can't remember anything anymore. At a certain age, Jeff.
Hey, we missed this. Morton says Charles Hoskinson forgot to unmute his mic for an entire 10-minute YouTube rant today.
I bet you that looked awesome. You know what we're going to do, Jeff? We're going to take that video and we're going to insert words.
That's right.
Let's take a little snip of that and said, what did Charles Hoskinson say? XRP is what you want to be using. You know those bad lip reading videos, Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
I remember
I made an entire video and I posted the video and it was no audio. Everyone's like, well, we can't hear anything. I'm like, yeah, it was meant to be that way.
And someone said, but Jeff, you look passionate. You look like you're really into it. Whatever you're saying here.
I was like, fire it up. Nothing.
But speaking of Cardano and speaking of Hoskinson, look at this. Here we go right here. Boom. Lots of smart contract stuff is planned for 2 to 3 months.
Nice.
Now, I like Cardano a lot. I always thought they might run into some regulatory potential issues. They're expected to see some significant upgrades over the next 60 to 90 days, according to Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson. In an interview with Financial Fox, he revealed that within the next 2 to 3 months, there's going to be a lot of, and this is what he called it, smart contract stuff, Jeff.
Nice.
It'll hit the network.
Smart contract stuff.
Yeah, the IOHK exec also disclosed that over the past few months, Hoskinson has met with the teams behind Celsius, SingularityNet, Fireblocks, Prime Trust for the purpose of including support for Cardano. It's great news. Prioritizing which of these entities will receive integration first been a particular challenge, he added. It's necessary. You need that for dApps. You need for institutional investors to come in. You need that for all different kinds of actors, and that's what consumers, the majority of the time, right now, as a company.
That's so right. Nice.
Smart guy, man. I really think
Cardano's going places.
Cardano is going places, man. So look at this right here. So this is interesting. Look, he says we're going to be announcing several new things like a smart contract institute. Funny how everything's moving in the smart contract space. Specialized in smart contract development design, embedded at a university. Interesting how he's weaving that in. And what's interesting about that, Jeff, is they may gain some acceptance perhaps, just in the sense that, because the government's central planners and central governments, they don't really care for that stuff too much, man. Thanks a lot, Shane. Look at Shane says, hey, Jeff, love what you guys do for the XRP family, and we love you guys, man. We love you guys coming in here. But, because I've always wondered, I've always asserted the fact that, when you do a privacy type of a coin and Adam, okay, big lover of XRP. There you go, right there, Adam. Yeah, if you guys, please sub to his channel. Check him out. I'll tell you what, he's a phenomenal musician. He and his wife, man, they're fun to watch. I like your live streams, man. It's great because you guys are doing it at night. And I'm just getting up in the morning, so I catch you guys early. I'll watch that, but check it out. And Berserker is Keanu Reeves. Did you know that, Jeff?
He is. I did know that. Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. Big tip off. What? Look at this. Why the calves, Robert Morris?
Exactly. Hey, so we've had a really interesting day within the markets. I think it started yesterday. We started seeing some massive sell-offs across the board. Both in stock and in crypto, and right now we're seeing cryptocurrency sitting at a net loss, almost across the board for the past 7 days. There are some interesting tokens like Binance Coin still up 72% for the past week. Bitcoin is down 0.5%. Ethereum's down 11%, but Bitcoin's sitting at 48,700. Ethereum at 1,500. Cardano, which a few weeks ago was sitting around 40, 50, 60 cents, is hanging strong near that dollar mark, so it's at 94 cents. But man, what do you think? And we were talking about this earlier. What are your thoughts on those that got into this space not that long ago? Bitcoin sitting at 57, 58,000. It's very reminiscent of what happened at the end of 2017 going into 2018. Bitcoin hitting 20,000, people getting in at the top, and then the next 2 years after, sitting there holding Bitcoin at a high number with hopes and expectation. Same thing with XRP, those that got in at $3, or even Ethereum, anyone that got in at the top, two plus years. What do you think, man? I mean, going forward from this point onwards, are we going to see another ramp up, or is this thing, are we looking at another 2-year bearish season?
I don't think we're going to see two. I think there's conditions right now that, and I think they're really, it's a global thing going on right now, because I think that people are sort of wising up. They're sort of like dodging the whole central control thing, right? Turns out people don't really like that, It's like in theory and all this other stuff, but the social political type of scale, you see that, and people are going, wait a minute, if I have a little bit of money sitting over here, and let me just try to put it in some crypto here and there, right? So even if they took like half of their savings, and it doesn't even have to be a lot of money, but let's suppose they put it in XRP when it was like 20 cents. And then all of a sudden it turned to 30, and it went to 40, and then it went to 50, 60, and yeah, it slid back down to 47. But the point of it is, they see that their fiat currency is losing value. It's funny when they talk about inflation, people are like, inflation, but all that means is that currency, your fiat's losing its value every day because it buys less and less. That's really what it amounts to. That same dollar doesn't buy what that same dollar bought in the 1960s, the 1920s, right? That's what inflation really is. So to your point, Jeff, I do think that people are starting to wise up a little bit. But I was talking to my wife, and we were saying, like, what if you were that person that got in at 59,800 Bitcoin, and you bought two, you're like, I'm finally going to go in on 2 Bitcoins, and then it dropped $13,000, right? Now, can you imagine, like, we flip out when XRP drops 13 cents. $13,000, Jeff. I'm like, can you imagine if we were saying, like, what, Cardano just dropped 13 grand, you'd be like, no big deal, it'll pop back. 13,000 is a lot, but I do think
it's all relative, though. No,
it is relative. Of course, it's relative.
So
it's relative.
And the space is progressing. The space is growing. Overall, when I see the stock market going red, even one of the ARK funds that I've been in for a little while, it went red. Down. I didn't expect to see that, but they're all going down. The whole stock market. I was trying to look and figure out what was the implication. What started this spiral across the board over the past couple of days, and I still haven't singled it out. I don't know exactly what it was. I look over at Twitter though. Twitter's at $70+. And
that's crazy. It was at 47 not too long ago.
It was at 47 when it pulled back. Palantir was up at, near $40, is pulled back to around 28, still up, significantly over a period of time. But
MoneyGram,
market,
Jeff.
Yeah.
MoneyGram was at 11.50, and my daughter's like, sell it. It's like $7 now, right? So, I mean, holy cow.
Yeah. So, but the whole market is down X%. So now, when we look at, what's going to happen within the crypto space, but I think a big part of, the market, what's interesting with this is that I don't know that, that Damien's bringing up a good point, but I don't know that we've seen the stock market and the crypto market move kind of, in concert with one another like this. And I think there's definitely considerable more to happen here. Yeah. So that one was saying this pullback is nothing but a slingshot, expecting another dip to the 30-40s before takeoff. Yeah, and that's definitely possible. I mean, it's good. If it's a constant skyrocket up, then the other side of it is going to be a little bit scary. But there's so much more. JM's talking about Neo. Neo definitely pulled back. What was Neo at today? I didn't get a chance to see what the Neo stock price was. Let me see. Right now, closed at 49. So Neo is down. Neo is up there in the 50s. A lot of this market. Who was it that said?
Here we go, right here. Farouk Bashir said. There. Farouk Bashir says maybe people bought Tesla cars with Bitcoin. Do you know who? Do you know another person named Farouk, spelled differently? But do you know who else was Farouk Basara? Do you know who that was? Freddie Mercury, Jeff. Come on, man. We're doing music trivia here on the chain. Welcome to On the Chain. Yeah, Farouk Basara. So yeah, Farouk Bashir. It's spelled, but Farouk is spelled differently and probably pronounced differently too. Sorry if I butchered your name. BC Backer called this drop and said it will drop more. And yeah, I mean that's somebody that I would pay attention to because BC Backer knows his stuff, and I would usually use a different word there, but.
Yeah, and here's Damien pointed out, Elon Musk saying Bitcoin was overvalued. There was definitely kind of that catalyst. One of those things that definitely, started
Neil
that,
pulled back from 50.
a trend.
Pulled back. How did it go from 50 to 60?
No, it was in that. It was in the 50. It was in the 50, 60 range.
Gotcha.
It went from 60 to 50. Now it's sitting at 40. Yeah, so it's at $49 right now. Neo is making some good progress. Neo is not a digital asset; it's a stock.
Do you know what's weird about this? Look at this. I'm gonna look at this here. Look at the volume, the 24-hour volume. This is interesting too because we look at XRP, 12 billion over the 24 hours, and look at Litecoin, 11.6. I mean, it's 400. I mean, it's just a little bit shy on the 24 hours. You got almost as many people buying Litecoin as you did buying XRP. Then it dropped significantly after that. I mean, not market cap wise, no. I mean, it's light years away. But anyway, it's But the pullback, look, it's going to be healthy unless you're left holding the bag there. The other thing that happened was the erase that $1 trillion market cap. But still, look at the 24-hour volume. You got a lot of stuff, probably a lot more sells going on there.
Yeah. So with all this going on, Chip, there's some interesting progress. The reason why I asked you that question before, what do you see? Is this space pulling back? Is it moving forward? Throughout the years that Bitcoin's been around, we've seen the ebb and flow of Bitcoin. We've seen the ebb and flow of all the digital assets. It's always healthy to have a pullback. You can't have a constant run up, and that's stocks, any way we look at it. But this space is developing, on a consistent, basis. And what's interesting is that JP Morgan, with their JPM blockchain payment network, is still out there. And I'm kind of shocked. I guess they have a new name for it, or maybe the original name, JPM, was their token, but they had their blockchain payments network called Link, LIINK. But one of the major state banks, government-owned state banks over in India, has become the first Indian bank to join JP Morgan's blockchain network. And now one of the things that we've talked about a lot over when it comes to Ripple is that Ripple and RippleNet are a direct competition to Swift, but that doesn't mean that Ripple themselves doesn't have competition. We know R3 has been out there competing. JP Morgan, though, stepping up to the plate like this with a blockchain payment solution. And this all goes back. And so the state bank over in India is SBI is their bank over there. Everybody wants to improve cross-border payments. India wants to improve cross-border payments. We've seen RippleNet very active over in India as well. But JP Morgan, the one that was anti everything to do with digital asset.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the funniest part about that. But I think we're the biggest. I think really it's interesting. I think if I was Ripple and I was working biz dev for them, I would get in touch with people. You really got to look at a lot of the flaws that happen. This whole money. What is it called? My dog's like tearing things up over here. This whole thing we had with those maxi guys. What were they doing? They were the seven brain fade all over the place here tonight. But bottom line is that in the marketplace, when you're buying stocks, you've got that 2-day sort of window that you got to wait because you don't have instant payments. That's a beautiful place to insert the on-demand liquidity product. Why not? It's like perfect right there. You're talking about, the problem is you get instant settlement. So when I move my money, it moves directly. I can cash in and cash out. I don't have that and that's what really crushed that market, going back a couple weeks. Is you had all these things they're on their way up. The market was banging, it was going on. People couldn't move, they couldn't sell funds. By the way, Jeff, we saw as the market was coming down, eToro went offline. So another exchange that are really struggling. They seem to be okay when you're buying just moderately, but if there's something going on in the market, some weird market conditions, then all of a sudden they had all these issues, right? So they went down. They put out a tweet saying, "Oh, we're down. There's a little bit of We're really sorry. Well, that's great, but if you're trying to get out of something and you bought Bitcoin and you see that market dropping and you can't get out of it, Jeff, what are you going to do? I wanted to jump back into this really quick here. So this is the thing, the SEC. This is Crypto Mom, right? Wanted to just jump in this one little bit of this whole entire speech. She says another part of ensuring that we're not hamstringing the ability of technology to make markets work better for people is remembering that our role is to protect investors and markets, not incumbents. I call BS on that, Jeff, okay? Because for 8 years of inaction, they said that they're bloviating left and right but the fact is they haven't done anything. And if we look at, if we dig into that a little bit more, it says right there, incumbents, by definition, have adapted themselves well to the existing regulatory framework. What regulatory framework? What the hell is she talking about, Jeff? Market infrastructure and established technology tools. A lot of gibberish right there. They may be slower to adopt the new technology indeed, but it's not their interest to do so. Then, this is the other big one. Decentralized finance will provide a good test for our ability to regulate with an eye towards protecting the interest of investors and markets. Come on, I call BS on that as well. Wait a minute. Decentralized finance will provide a test. They've been tested for the last 10 years, 11 years if you count when Bitcoin came out, and they've done nothing. So, I mean, I think we're going to have to take Crypto Mom's mom card away from her. We're just going to have to give it back at a later date because she's talking about the nascent DeFi industry. It's rapidly growing. But this statement right here, Jeff, a good test for our ability to regulate with an eye towards protecting the interest of investors and markets. Wow.
Yeah, I think that's this is where you see the politics beginning to weave into everything. And
Yes.
you can't, so she's conflicted. She's conflicted with her role and obligations to the political entity, and then her opinions on decentralized finance. She's also crossing over this line that I'm not 100% comfortable with when she references the incumbents, the way she's referencing and referring to them. We know that the brick and mortars, their time has definitely come. DeFi, decentralized finance, the movement, it's picking up, speed faster and faster and faster. And it's needed. It's definitely needed, to facilitate the movement of money. One of the things you talk about is that instant settlement. You can't get instant settlement if you don't have decentralized finance. How do you get instant settlement? It's almost impossible,
Right.
because you have all these elements involved. You have different banks, different people, different accounts. You have all these different things that are involved in it. You have to remove the barrier, and the barrier would be, a lot of the brick and mortars. But the brick and mortars, what do we talk about a lot? Who's coming first? Are the brick and mortars going to adopt the blockchain space and move into becoming crypto exchanges and all of that? Or are the crypto exchanges going to adopt quicker and become banks? In my opinion, we're going to see a merging of the two. One's going to buy out the other. I think we're seeing billions and billions and billions of dollars accumulating on the digital asset exchange side. We know that the banks have a lot of money, but they're coming to a head. It's all coming together pretty soon, and the fallout is going to be these banks that they're going to close branches all over the place. They're going to get rid of their brick and mortars.
Yeah.
The whole dynamics, it's going to be a dynamic. It's going to be a complete shift, and decentralized finance going to come out on top, right?
Shift?
A shift.
I thought you were going somewhere else when you started with a complete shift show.
A shift show.
A shift show.
A shiftity.
Jeff, I want to read the headline. I just want to get a quick reaction. Suppose you don't know anything about the story I'm about to read. I want to read the headline, and I just want you to kind of we'll try something new. Just give some feedback on it without even knowing the story, because this is interesting. Ready? Here's the headline. Ripple ran crypto's most expensive lobbying program in 2020. Go.
I don't believe it.
That's not it. They ran the most expensive lobbying program. Now, we know lobbyists, right? And you might want, Jeff, can you just explain for the audience who may be outside of the U.S. or doesn't really understand what the whole term lobbying means?
Lobbying means, well, if you're lobbying in favor of whatever your selected program might be. It could be a nonprofit, it could be a for-profit, it could be an industry, whatever it might be. You have hired lobbyists that will then go and politic with the politicians. They go to the politician and say, we're going to donate X amount to your campaign. In return, we want to get X. That's not exactly what happens per se, but at the end of the day, the big corporations are donating huge sums of money to the politicians, and in return, then you would expect that there would be some sort of a return. But the lobbyists are really there to support the industry. So in this case, Ripple hiring individuals that go to Congress, that go to Senate, and help educate, help and basically talk the talk and try to find positive partners that are going to side with them in their objective, whatever that objective might be. Ripple's case, obviously, getting regulatory clarity. So they did hire a decent number of people. To Ron Hammond was one of them. That they recruited away from Warren Davidson's office. Ron Hammond happened to be the one of the key architects and authors of the Token Taxonomy Act, was working for Ripple and going to Congress and Senate and their staff and et cetera, and educating them on the needs of regulatory clarity. So I think that sums it up. It doesn't always mean that there's pay for play.
No,
we know that stuff happens, but we know that that's not it's not exactly how it works.
Well, here's something interesting. So now that you know the story, so Coinbase, so basically this came out, the legally mandated disclosures for 2020. So they get to review them, and they wrote a whole article about it. And what they said was Coinbase looks to become the first American crypto exchange to issue public shares, spent $230,000. Okay, so that's how much they spent. And the article says that was dwarfed by Ripple. So if you had to take a guess, what do you think Ripple spent in lobbying, which still didn't, as they say here, didn't save it from the SEC? How much do you think it was? $690,000. So they spent
$1 million. I was going to say
pretty close enough, So I mean, well, I mean, let's face it, Coinbase is going to be spending the big bucks pretty soon. I mean, they're getting a lot of infusion of capital. But you look at that, it says Ripple's spending on lobbying is relatively paltry compared with the giants of big tech. Facebook, for example, spent well over $5 million. That was just the fourth quarter, Jeff. Fourth quarter. Yeah. DM Association, formerly known as Libra, the Facebook, supposed coin. No lobbying activity over 2020. There was really not much to talk about. Let's see what else they go into here. Well, the DM Association consistently downplayed its relationship with Facebook. Facebook maintained a $200,000 contract with lobbyists at FS Vector over 2020 to focus on blockchain. Ripple, incidentally, also an FS Vector client, first half of 2020 saw Ripple terminate its in-house lobbying team, and that's, we know, obviously was Ron Hammond. And he's now at the Blockchain Association. It relies solely on contracts. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The lobbying activities from Ripple, the fund, were primarily, let me throw this up on the screen so people can read along here, primarily legislation before Congress, like the Token Taxonomy, which you mentioned, Digital Commodity Exchange Act. These pieces of legislation set new rules, and Congress did nothing. So that money was flushed right out the toilet, man, right out the window. Questions of the security law and crypto are critical to Ripple's business model. Firm had long faced questions to whether XRP was in fact a security. So, it's funny. They're the ones spending the most money lobbying to see if they can get something done, because they've been screaming for regulatory clarity, and they're the first ones to get popped. So
that's it.
I thought that was somewhat interesting.
I thought that was definitely on point. And then, to follow up with that, and this is definitely relevant across the board as it comes to what we're seeing going on with, I guess I'm not going to be able to share it here.
Which story is it?
I guess I have to open this up. I can share it. I'll open it up. It's I was trying to open it up in Brave, and it's not showing up.
I can throw it over here.
But anyhow, so this is it. Unfortunately, we've got this whole. I was trying to get rid of this thing. How do I get rid of this whole
can you scroll up?
Nonsense here?
Well, not scroll. You're on Brave. Oh no, you didn't have Brave.
No, I'm not on Brave. I couldn't. Oh, there we go. Oh, finally. Okay. So, this is why I don't use it. That's why I don't go on this website. But look at this nonsense. Seriously?
Oh,
But look at this. After the
make money, Jeff.
after the GameStop fiasco, momentum built for an $800 billion tax. And this is really what I wanted to point out, because I was reading this article and I say, they're in this reactionary mode to everything that happened over on regarding GameStop. Well, GameStop and Robinhood and Roaring Kitty over here, Keith Gill. And so they're getting to this point now where they're getting crazy, right? Because now they're talking about a tax, a $1 tax on every $1,000 of transaction.
This is insane.
And this is for every investment transaction. So they're calling it a financial transaction tax. That this is how they're reacting to. So we have these big hedge funds that were shorting stocks. That GameStop just happened to be in their crosshairs. Found out by the Reddit group. Reddit goes the other direction, pumps it up. Now government's reacting. How do they react? They're not. How is a tax? Tell me how a tax is meant to help anybody. And some of the statements that they put in here, all they're seeing are dollar signs. And it's interesting too, coming from this publication here. But Uncle Sam is in search of a pot of gold that could ease the pain of $1 trillion deficits.
No.
And so they believe Wall Street. So they want to come after Wall Street. Now, the thing is, if you add this $1 tax, what is this? 0.1% tax, or it's detrimental, because this on every transaction of $1,000, for every $1,000. So imagine how much money is going to be taxed for every financial institution, for every trade platform. And at the end of the day, who's going to pay this? And it's exactly, what the opponents here, they're talking about this financial transaction tax, singling it out correctly as a nightmare, because the retail is going to end up paying the bill on this. And it's nonsense. Absolutely nonsense.
But you remember there's Segafredo. I got to get some of that, by the way. Anyway.
There you go. Got to get that Segafredo. That's why it's there.
I knew it. I knew it was a reminder. So, this whole thing, it's funny because who did Wall Street want? By the way, you've gone dark again, Jeff. You need to pop. You need to pop in. Hey, Tony, Thinking Crypto, what up, Chip and Jeff? Legend out there. Tony? Legend. I want to throw a couple other comments up here. I saw some good comments, and I really wanted to get to this. Oh, boy. Yeah, if you slap the like now, me and Connie will slap you. I don't know. That doesn't sound that. Maybe not from Berserker, maybe from the other one. This is what drives me insane. There's so many good comments that come in here. Here's this one. Robert Corbin says, I see tremendous underutilization of blockchain technology for solving non-fintech problems. This eventual use will help fintech. I agree. Connie, thank you. Hit that, thumbs up, subscribe, click the bell notifier, and then butterflies and music, which I like too, Jeff. The Tether lawsuit. Yeah, let's jump in that. We're going to jump into that next, but I was trying to find, Peter Schiff is celebrating like he won the Nobel Prize for predicting a 20% pullback at 58,000.
He's so excited.
That is funny, man. He's relentless, man. And I'll forget who commented. Somebody commented on one of his tweets and says, it's amazing you can be wrong 95% of the time and still have followers. I'm like, give a prediction, not the exact value. No, we're going to do that. Tremendous. Hang on a second, Jeff. I'm just looking. Yeah, we're asking for predictions in here, but good God Almighty, where is the? I don't know. This is, Jeff. What I wish they had is a queue. Like you could just throw them in a queue. So when you got around to it, I'm going to bring that up to the devs, because that'd be nice to have that.
Be a lot easier than I try to put the tabs in order at the top, and then they kind of get lost.
Well, what happens is like they start the comments move up, and then you miss them all. And there are some really good ones.
That's right.
Here, let's look at this one. Jason Mark. The U.S. dollar is a centralized currency, and America would lose financial dominance if they gave industry clarity for XRP to hit the ground running. Your thoughts, Jeff?
Hey, I'm trying
Hello,
to get back.
Jeff.
Trying to get back.
Good afternoon,
U.S. dollar is a centralized currency, and America would lose financial dominance if they gave industry clarity for XRP to hit the ground running. we'd have to operate under the premise that at that point that XRP is going to replace the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. It would be a potential replacement. I don't believe that XRP, my opinion, anyways, is meant to replace the U.S. dollar and not meant to be a reserve currency. XRP, and the XRP ledger is meant to move money and move it quickly and establish a solution for a liquidity problem. Now, if you are moving, the mass amounts of money, I guess, to that point, that's an interesting thought. So if you start moving millions and millions of dollars, billions, trillions, starts working through RippleNet, through the ledger, do you need dollars at that point for transaction? Because one of the things that, and there's a interesting thought process to workshop, Chip, will be interesting to get your feedback on this one. But if you're, able to transact any currency through the RippleNet, through the XRP ledger, you don't need to trade you don't need that currency any longer to provide most of your trade. If it becomes the trade currency, it becomes the denomination of choice to quote bids at as well. Maybe you still use the dollar though from that perspective. But now if I'm going to move, if I need to send you $10 million, you want to get your own currency, my liquidity is covered through the ODL. I don't need to have Nostra Vostra accounts and dollars all over the world. I mean, or other currencies. I don't know. I'm kind of losing myself in this own thought process now. But it's something.
It's a complex question,
think?
Jeff.
Yeah.
It's very complex. I mean, I was just listening to you, and I'm like, yeah, making a good point there, making a good point there, and yeah, it is a centralized, currency, and you kind of have to wonder, government doesn't want decentralization. They just don't. It's a threat, right? That we know that. And by the way, Berserker says you will grow hair if you hit the like now. Quick, everybody hit the. He starts making me crack like a chia pet, It'll start growing like. By the way, I love this question here, even though it's totally off topic. And I have to go off topic once in a while. But Ronnie Size says, Chip and Jeff, what's your top 3 bands or artists? And I would qualify that. I would say we'd have to go by decade, because I think if we went like by decade, I think it would be easier, because I'm big time into music, and it would be a hard one for me. I mean, is there a way you could answer that?
Start in the 70s.
Well, Zeppelin for one. I mean, I have to go with Zeppelin, Queen.
All right, I was really 70s Kiss.
Well, Kiss was cool too. I was like a little Kiss kid too.
Okay,
but
how about 80s? Go to the 80s.
Oh, 80s is really hard for me to nail down to 3. But I'd have to go with
just pick one. Let's pick one.
Like I'm more of like an alt guy, so I like New Order, a little bit of Cure tossed in there. There's so many great bands, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
New Order's
Cure.
probably New Order is there's so many. Echo and the Bunnymen. I love all that. Just there's so much good stuff from that era. How about you?
Iron Maiden.
I saw Maiden live a couple times. Yep, I saw Maiden a couple times. I saw a lot. I mean, I think in the 80s I probably saw more. I saw the Chili Peppers in the 80s. I saw them in the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, and I haven't seen them in the 20s yet, but I plan to. But I saw them.
Awesome. I'd love to see the Chili Peppers.
I saw them in a bar in Fort Lauderdale, and there were probably about 30 people there. It was ridiculous. The Red Hot Chili Peppers. That was when they first came out. It was like 1986.
Oh, they kind of went downhill though, man, because you started out you're right, late 80s, 90s, Mother's Milk. They were on top of their game. Then some of the newer stuff just kind of lost the appeal.
Frusciante's coming back though after 10 years back in the band, so their new stuff I have a feeling is going to be phenomenal. And then
Jane's Addiction.
I love Jane's Addiction, man. I saw Jane's Addiction too. So, it's interesting to see people think, then when you get in the 90s, got to go with, Stone Temple Pilots.
Yep.
My all-time greatest band in the world is the Afghan Whigs, which I'm a big fan of Greg Dooley and the Whigs. But I like the grunge stuff, big Soundgarden fan too, so.
Yeah. Soundgarden, Temple of the Dog.
Temple of the Dog, it's like you almost wish what would have happened if they put out more than just that one album, you know what I mean? Would have been interesting. And it was funny. I remember we had Brad Kimes on. We did an after show, and we talked for music for like 50 minutes. It's on our other channel. You guys can go find it. And people are like, you guys didn't talk about crypto. I was like, but it was fun to have Brad Kimes on, and we didn't talk about crypto. And we just we talked about other stuff, and I wanted to throw this up real quick for people that don't know. But this is my album right here. You guys can go listen to it. The name of the album is called. So I took this picture actually in Poland. I was in Warsaw when I took the picture, made the art, created the logo because I'm a former reformed designer, creative director. But here's the track listing right there, and I will drop that inside there. You guys can go check it out, listen to it, love it, hate it. If you like it, I want to know about it. If you don't, keep it to yourself. No, I'm just kidding. We don't want to hear too much about it. But yeah, No Joy Yet, 11 original tunes. I sing on every one of them. I wrote the songs. I co-wrote music on a couple of them with one of my best buddies in the world, Danny Toohey right here, who unfortunately his life was taken on New Year's Eve 2 years ago, and it's a real big time bummer, but I had some really amazing musicians play on this. I play guitar, bass, sang, like I said, but you guys can check that out. You guys didn't know, man, I'm a musician, reformed creator director. Now there's people even on crypto saying you're not an asbestos attorney and you don't know, and what are you giving your opinion for? And I'm like, hey man, just a guy, give my opinion, just like everybody else, no big deal. You guys can check that out.
Dude, people are throwing in all sorts of good bands here. I see Andrew Nation with Black Sabbath.
Oh, Sabbath, dude. Sabbath is like timeless right there.
That's freaking awesome. Yeah.
Timeless is, obviously John Lennon. You guys know I'm one of the biggest Beatles fans of all time, and McCartney, and I've seen McCartney so many times. I've even seen Ringo, and by the way, Ringo and I share a birthday. There you go. I was born on a Beatles birthday. My dog is named Maxwell Silver from Maxwell's Silver Hammer. So Britney Spears, John Max says. Tool, I love Tool. Another great band, Mountain. Yeah. I'm a big time into music. You name the bands I'm into it, man. Perry Farrell, Grateful Dead. I wasn't really much of a Deadhead though. It was a good vibe. It just wasn't my vibe. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Santana, another band that I really respected, but just Aerosmith. I loved Earl Aerosmith is really good. But it's great to see you guys put your favorite bands in there as well too. And
that's awesome.
You saw Sabbath twice. So I had to say, who did you see Sabbath with? Which singer? Did you see him in the Ozzy Osbourne days, or? Nice. So that's a very interesting.
All right. Hey Chip, before we run out of time and all of our.
Are we running out of time, Jeff?
We're running out of time here, but until we lose everybody on the music talk, I think everyone's fired up and into music here. But I did want to bring this up because this is something that potentially has deeper roots and a little bit more could come of it. When we start seeing this trend, but the New York Attorney General Letitia James has really come after Bitfinex and Tether, very aggressively. We're starting to see a little bit of a trend, and it's interesting to see, what kind of role New York has to play in a lot of these different things, especially when it comes to securities and finance and all of that. But here, the big one was Bitfinex and Tether must submit to mandatory reporting on efforts to stop New York trading. Bitfinex and Tether deceive clients and market by overstating reserves, hiding approximately $850 million in losses around the globe. And I think, Chip, one of the things that definitely is singled out here, and something that we've talked about previously when it came to Tether, is that they're supposed to be tied to the dollar, and they're supposed to have reserves for every Tether. There had to be $1. And then they came out and actually said that, no, in fact, it's not backed by the dollar. It's actually backed by other things of value and that would be equal to $1, or you could trace it back. But they didn't have the 1-for-1 US dollars in reserves. And that has kind of, started to haunt them a lot more than probably what they anticipated here. But a stable coin without stability, Tethers weren't fully backed at all times. And that's big because this is going back to like the mid 2017, is where this investigation and they're just moving forward. It's, man, it's kind of crazy. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm really concerned about what's going on in New York right now, because here's the New York Attorney General talking about it. She sent a tweet out about it saying, New York is just crushing everybody. First, they want to crush you. They don't want you to live your life. They don't want you going to restaurants. They don't want you living. And they don't want you trading crypto. She's like, it's just ruthless, right? So if you look at her entire feed right here, she's going after almost everything. Judge ruled in our favor against the NRA, dismissed her entire lawsuit. Judge granted our motion for proceedings. It's nonstop. There's a whole bunch of just they're going after Libra by Nexus. They're going after just pretty much everything, And what I'm disappointed because we have so many fans in New York. I formerly lived in New York too, and it's disheartening when people who just cannot spend their hard-earned money on what they want to spend it on. And New York's not looking after the best interest. They're not able to spend it. You want to buy crypto? It's your money, man. It's your fiat. You can spend it on you want. So I feel a little bit. That feels a little bit weird. I don't know. It's a little weird to me, Jeff. I mean, I don't like it. You know what I mean?
No, they're coming out, and this one, I can't disagree with 100%, because of the fact of where Tether is. They're not backed 1-for-1 for U.S. dollars the way they claim. So they kind of put themselves in this predicament, but it's bad for the entire community when you have these types of things go down, especially given that Tether is one of the big ones. Yeah, and why is it, that New York is choosing this direction, this Orwellian nightmarish kind of direction, according to Morton.
Spot on.
There's just too much. It's just too much, and you'd hope that, with the SEC providing a little regulatory clarity, we need something, but here, man, I think they definitely also want to single out. They're trying to, it's a big power play above and beyond. But again, I can't disagree so much with what's going on, how they're singling out Tether.
Well, I mean, I know it sort of adds up after a while, but the problem with it is that it's like everything. It's like, well, I feel especially bad. Like, for example, there were some people in our audience, some of our family out there, our crypto fam, they were in New York. They had a couple of their bags on Coinbase, but they didn't read the fine print that Coinbase did not support New York. They didn't support the Spark token drop in New York. So they're thinking that, oh gosh, thank God, Coinbase is in, except for New York. So there's a lot of that going on that I feel really sort of just upset a lot of things. And I mean, look, I did my time in New York. I got out. I felt like it's a fun place to live. I spent a couple years in Pittsburgh. Spent a couple years in Detroit. And I love South Florida, but it's all we are. Look at this right here, Mr. Elron. We are all flare rich.
Flare rich.
Freaking,
you gotta love that.
Living ridiculously rich. That's what FLR stands for. Freaking living ridiculously rich.
Man, however, it comes to the flare. I don't know what's going on with the with BitTrue and their flare IOU token.
Wait a minute, Jeff.
The last time I saw that was like 60 cents.
Jeff, I gotta explain. I have some explaining to do. I did not do time as in like jail, hard time. When I say I did time, I'm equating New York to a jail, and I got out. So I'm saying very young, I was able to leave New York. I did not actually. That's a good point, though. I didn't do time, which means I was not ever incarcerated. I wasn't in prison. I was not like that. When I affectionately say I did time because I got out.
New York. He was happy
in
to
New
leave.
York. I was happy to leave. Let's put it that way.
Skarmarson is our buddy over in Iceland.
Oh, nice. That's on the thing. It's like I keep telling you, my daughter, we do. Where do you want to go next year? She wants to go to Iceland. I'm like, all right, man, I'm down. I've seen a couple cool dramas in Iceland. There's one real good one that I just loved. It was shot so beautifully.
Man, we were there. I can't wait to go back. I've got the whole trip planned out. This time, though, they have the ring road that goes all the way around Iceland. And then they have the off-road roads that go right through the middle of the country. Yeah. And so you can rent one of those big Range Rover Defenders, and they got the big wheels and everything. I rented a Range Rover when we were there, and we were taking it a little bit off-road, but not like the middle off-road, because that's major. Got to get the big wheels. That would be awesome. Then you camp out in the middle, out in the middle of the wilderness in the country.
That sounds fantastic.
That place is amazing.
By the way, some clarification here. Bobby Snake says jail sucks, but he says jail isn't prison, though. That's a good point. Jail, usually like a local thing. Prison.
However, New York is.
But however, I'm sorry to say that it is. It absolutely is. So let's put this up. So Jack Mack says Polynex, BitTrue, because Polynex Flare IOU is diluted 5 times to go on the Flare network. On YouTube, they'll explain you that the last video. So this is what I was wondering, because I know that the Polynex, I know that they were at one point, it was like 12 cents, and I look, it's like 75 cents last time I saw an IOU over there on BitTrue. And my opinion on that is it's pure fantasy, because an IOU doesn't mean anything, right? I mean, and also too, it's hedging the bet on what that might actually be. I've never been a fan of stuff like that. I understand what they're trying to do, and they're creating some excitement, and they're creating but the bottom line is, even when 15% of that starts dropping, we don't know what the value is going to be at. It doesn't necessarily mean Bjork is fantastic. Oh yeah, one of my favorites of all time. By the way, great side. Did you ever see her movie? By the way, Bjork put out a really good movie. It used to be one of my favorite movies to watch.
So man, this was
Nomad Hatter says, I think it might improve your badass image, Chip. Yeah, maybe I'll do some time. I did time in New York. I was enough for my badass image. You know what I mean?
So man, so unfortunately, fortunately, it's come to that time.
Oh, Reykjavik. Look at Reykjavik. We gotta get there too.
Yeah, Reykjavik, awesome place. Yeah, that's a good place to start. But
totally,
man, this was awesome. I really appreciate everybody being here with us. Coming on every single night. We're streaming here. We've got amazing people in here. Looking forward to seeing you guys on again tomorrow and then Thursday. But we are streaming. For those that are new here, we didn't even say it once today, but anyone that's new here with us tonight, make sure you hit the subscribe down below. And once you hit that subscribe, there's a little bell notifier. If you click the bell, that'll allow you to be notified every single time we post a new video. And someone commented and said, come on, we already know that. What do you guys, why do you guys have to keep saying it? Well, one, not everybody knows it, but also if you're brand new, sometimes you need that little nudge. But the one thing is that when you do hit subscribe and you hit the bell, even if you hit the thumbs up, it definitely helps everything. It helps the algorithms right here on the chain. You guys are phenomenal. Definitely look forward to seeing you guys back on again tomorrow night. Chip?
I just wanted to say, we always talk about XRP the standard, and nobody gets tired of that, Jeff. Everyone loves talking about that, right? So it's
right.
But sometimes it's what we have to do. We're trying to grow the channel, bring more people in here, expand the XRP community, expand the XRP OTC community, because it's one big happy family. And Jeff and I aren't maxis, but we do know some good ones when we see it. We like a lot of the altcoins, which we talk about. But again, Jeff and I both came to it via Bitcoin, so I always have a special place in my heart. And I don't own as much Bitcoin as I once did, but I'm always having a little bit here and there. Beatscoin. I also 1,000. I own 2,000 Beatscoin, and that and a hello will get you punched in the face somewhere. Okay, I'll say right now. Hello. Oh God, I didn't expect that. But I got 2,000 Bitcoin. You get a beatdown, is what you get, Jeff. I moved my Beatscoin,
exactly what you're gonna get.
And I moved it to a new wallet. It was worth this. So.
That's right.
Anyway, guys,
that's
see you on the next
for
one
tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night, exclusively here
on the chain. See you on the next one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.